Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, March 28th, 2025. Now, if you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, the games I love the most in baseball and other sports, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab, pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. I've got that MLB season pass up there. Gets you every single premium selection I release in baseball. Money lines, totals, player props. So check it out at Pick Dawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Friday in Major League Baseball. First up, we have the Rockies and the Rays. The season opener for both of these two, as they did not play on Thursday. We got Kyle Freeland, the lefty, for Colorado. Ryan Pepiot going for Tampa Bay. This, of course, in the new stadium for the Rays this year, George M. Steinbrenner Field. This is where the Yankees play spring training, and the Tampa Tarpons, the Yankees single-A affiliate, play home games as well. So it's going to be interesting for the Rays. They're going to have some more sellouts this year because the capacity is a lot smaller than what it was at the Tropicana Field, and including this game, I believe, is a sellout for the Rays. For me, though, I think the Rockies are worth a look in this one. Plus money at plus 165 and plus 1.5 runs on the run line. I think you could split your wager there because Kyle Freeland, while his ERA was a little bit steep in spring training, he did something that we're not used to seeing from Freeland, and that's miss a lot of bats. He had 21 strikeouts in 14 innings in March in spring training, and he also limited the sharp contact. He only gave up one home run in those 3 outings. So if Freeland can put together similar numbers like that in this matchup and going forward, I think he'll be a decent option in the rotation. And he's facing a Rays lineup that in spring, a lot of their top hitters didn't do too well. Guys like Junior Caminero, who have big expectations, a little bit subpar spring training for them. So I just don't think the Rays should be this big of a favorite. I know the Rockies, last year and in years prior, bad records, not good on the road. So it makes sense why they're priced the way they are. But I think, Ryan Pepiot, while he's a good option, I think the Rays bullpen on paper is in a not great place. I think when you look at the projected WAR numbers, while the Rockies are near the bottom, so are the Rays. So I just think the value lies with Colorado. I think they take this one. I'm going to take the Rockies on the money line and run line. Next up, we have the Baltimore Orioles and the Toronto Blue Jays. We got Charlie Morton making his Orioles debut. Kevin Gausman going for Toronto. Now, Gausman, I do expect overall a bounce-back season from him, but I have to see it to believe it first. And when you look at Gausman, last year he was great on the road, but he struggled a lot at home. He had an ERA above 5 when pitching at the Rogers Center, and he also had an ERA above 5 when facing these Orioles. So I don't love the matchup for Gausman or the Blue Jays pitching staff in this game because I still don't love this Blue Jays bullpen overall. Similarly, I think they'll bounce back this season after a tough 2024, but let's see it first before we completely go with it. I think Morton on the other side, he pitched okay in spring training. Would have liked to see some more missed bats, but we know he's a veteran, pretty trusty veteran. He'll probably go out there and give 4 or 5 decent innings. I think the Orioles back him up in the run column. I think they win this game on the road, so give me Baltimore on the money line. Next up, the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Miami Marlins. We got Mitch Keller going for the Buccos, Connor Gillespie going for Miami. Now, Gillespie is making his first career start in this game. He had a couple appearances out of the bullpen for the Guardians in 2024. Now he's with Miami, and in spring training he did struggle to miss some bats. I don't love that in this matchup. I think the Pirates, while I mentioned both of these lineups are not great on paper, I do think Pittsburgh has a slight advantage there, especially at the top of their lineup, and I think they'll be able to get to Gillespie for a few runs early. I also think Mitch Keller is a good option for Pittsburgh overall. He did have some struggles at the beginning of March in spring training. He had 7 innings combined against the Blue Jays and Orioles, 4 earned runs, a home run, 6 walks. But the last start for him in spring, it was on March 21st against the Red Sox, tough lineup. 3 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 5 strikeouts, no walks. It was his best start of the spring, and I think it's great to see him be able to carry that momentum over here to the regular season. I think he pitches well against a weak Marlins lineup. I think the Pirates win and cover the run line potentially. So give me the Pirates money line, and I'll lay the 1.5 runs as well. Next up, the Texas Rangers taking on the Boston Red Sox. We got Jack Leiter and Tanner Houck as the projected starters. Now, it goes to show you the Red Sox have a lot of faith in Jack Leiter's game and his ability to bounce back from last year for him to get the number 2 spot in the rotation, at least to start the season, and pitch in this game. As last year, Leiter in 36 innings of work, 0-3, 8.83 ERA, negative 1.6 WAR. He really struggled, especially with that control. He had 17 walks in 35 2/3. He gave a lot of sharp contact as well. But here he is pitching game 2. He had a decent spring. I think he pitches pretty well. I still think this is a tough Red Sox lineup. Overall, I expect a pretty high-scoring game. I'd lean towards the over, but I think the Rangers get the win for Leiter in this one. I think when you look at Tanner Houck, limited work in spring training, but wasn't his best stuff. I think the Rangers get on the board early. I think they back up Jack Leiter, and I think the Rangers, find a way to win this game. So give me the Rangers on the money line at home in this one. Next up, we have the Mets and the Astros. This is going to be 8:10 Eastern on Apple TV+. This one and the Orioles game is going to be on Apple TV as well. Not fun for us MLB at-bat users, but nonetheless, we have Tyler McGill going for the Mets. It looks like Hunter Brown going for Houston. Still waiting for it to be official for the Astros, but Hunter Brown, we remember last year, he was a really slow starter, struggled in the big time in the first month of the year or so, and then was one of the best pitchers in baseball the rest of the way. I'm not so sure he's always going to be a slow starter, but I do really think highly of Tyler McGill this year. I expect it to kind of be a breakout season for McGill. He's always had an ERA above 4 throughout his career in limited work, not limited work, but in his few seasons at the major league level. This year, I think he breaks the sub-4 mark. I think he's going to have a sub-4 ERA. He's got great stuff. He was solid in spring. I think he pitches well in this game. And, I think that the top half of this Mets rotation is strong. The reason why I don't love the Mets, long-term or compared to their win total at 90.5 wins, which I think is crazy, is that bottom of the rotation, bottom of the lineup, and the bullpen. I think that this is a very talented Mets team, but a thin Mets team. There are a couple of injuries, especially a couple more injuries in that rotation, away from being in real trouble. But I think guys like McGill are going to pitch well this season. I think the Mets find a way to win this game. I'm going to take New York on the money line. Next up, we have the San Diego Padres taking on the Atlanta Braves. We got Reynaldo Lopez and Dylan Cease on the mound. Now, Reynaldo Lopez was a starter last year that I faded quite a bit. And overall, he had a good year, so I took my lumps in a few of those games. But when you look at his overall numbers, 1.99 ERA looks like Cy Young caliber, but a 3.94 expected ERA, 3.4 xFIP. There were certainly regression concerns for Lopez. He started to regress as the season went along, and he did run out of stamina, and he only went 135 innings. I expect a little bit of regression this year for Lopez in 2025. Again, in spring training, a 2.08 ERA in 13 innings, but a pretty steep expected FIP at 5.66 because he just doesn't miss a lot of bats. His strikeout numbers are inconsistent. 3.46 Ks per 9 in spring. It'll be a lot higher than that in the regular season, but he walks a good amount of batters. He does give up some sharp contact, even though he limits the home run ball. So I just think the Padres, I think they'll be able to get to Lopez for a few runs early. I also don't expect Lopez to pitch very deep into this ball game, probably 4 or 5 innings at the most. Dylan Cease, I think, is the much better option to start this game. He was missing a lot of bats in spring training. It's exactly where you want to be for a strikeout-dependent starter like Cease. As long as he limits the sharp contact, watches the free passes with the walks, which we've seen at times in his career he struggled with, I think he'll be fine this year, and I think he'll be a good option in this Padres rotation as that number 2. So give me the San Diego Padres on the money line. Next up, we have the Chicago Cubs taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Jameson Taillon and Merrill Kelly on the mound. For me, I think this is a tough game. Probably one of my least favorite games from a betting perspective. I think it should be an entertaining game because I think both starting pitchers pitch pretty well. Kelly's had great numbers against the current Cubs hitters. He pitched well in spring. I think he puts together a solid outing. And on the other side, Jameson Taillon's pitched well at Chase Field in his career against the current Diamondbacks hitters. Pretty low strikeout rate, but also a low walk rate and pretty low xWOBA at 321. So for me, no reason to believe Taillon can't go out and pitch 4, 5, maybe 6 decent innings. And I think the slight advantage I would give to Arizona is the fact that their bullpen is stronger on paper. Their lineup is a little bit better, and a lot of their batters in spring training had big springs. Guys like Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, of course, went crazy in spring training. So I'm going to give the advantage to the Diamondbacks in this one on the money line. Next up, the A's and the Mariners. We got Luis Castillo and Jeffrey Springs on the mound. I actually like the over in this game, even at a pitcher-friendly ballpark like T-Mobile. Luis Castillo was a starter that last year had his lowest strikeout rate in terms of Ks per 9 since 2018. It was 6 years before he had a sub-9 Ks per 9. And while it's still pretty solid at 8.98, it's not the double-digit Ks per 9 we're used to seeing from Castillo and the type of numbers that he relies on to succeed. He's a very strikeout-dependent starting pitcher. And last year his expected ERA at 3.91, the FIP at 3.91 as well, a little bit steep for a starter that's supposed to be an ace-level starter in this rotation. And the A's have actually put together decent numbers against Castillo, the current A's hitters in their career. A very high strikeout rate, but also a very high expected slugging percentage at 470. I could see a couple of Athletics going yard in this one, potentially some extra base hits, some doubles as well. And I think the A's can find a few runs on Castillo early. On the flip side, I'm always a little bit hesitant backing starters that leave the Rays organization because the Rays do such a good job at selling high on a lot of their players and pitchers in general. Chris Archer, of course, the most notable, but Jeffrey Springs, I do worry about his game a little bit early on. I also know that he doesn't pitch a lot. He doesn't really pitch deep into ball games, so expect to see a lot of the A's bullpen in this game. While I like the back end of the bullpen, I don't love their 5th, 6th, 7th inning options. So I think we see a high-scoring game in this one. I'm going to go with the over in the Athletics Mariners. And the final game we're to talk about for the Friday card in Major League Baseball, it's the Detroit Tigers and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yoshinobu Yamamoto for LA. No official starter listed right now for Detroit, but it looks like Jack Flaherty is the most likely option for the Tigers on the mound. And I think if this is the matchup, I like the under. I mean, Yamamoto pitched really well in his season debut in the Tokyo series against the Cubs. 5 innings, 1 run, 4 strikeouts, no homers, and only 1 walk. And he pitched well in the month of March in spring training. So for me, no reason to believe he can't put together another quality outing, potentially a quality start, 6 innings plus of 3-run or less baseball. And I also think that Flaherty, facing his former team, pitched well in spring. I think he puts together a good season for Detroit overall in spring training. 16 innings, 3.94 ERA, 16 strikeouts, only 1 home run given up. So for me, give me the under at Dodger Stadium between the Tigers and the Dodgers. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday in Major League Baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, including that Major League Baseball All Access Season Pass, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium, and there is a link in the description. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.